Pasi pasi nembava. Pasi pasi nemasabotua.
At the advent of the Second Republic and upon my assumption of the office of President, my government prioritized the fight against corruption and declared zero tolerance.
There is one, Tinobudama Chakaire. This one is an honorable member of parliament. There is one, and this one, it is because when things happen in your house, in your own family, there's a father and you do nothing, we assume that you're also involved as a father. John Panone Samama. We have got weakening to violence. Atirambi kuti wakatotsa vanhu kuti asizi kuchinja maribo.
Sikatoti apa mbavha mirai kuba, apa zvipukuto mirai kufuta, apa imi mujuru mirai kuisa mujuru, togadzira nyika, yobaba yaenda mberi, nokuba, maoko akachena, asi tichibhakira takafunda corruption, maoko ngaachene.
Ndimi makaramba kuderera machoko zvinodiwa namusiki chona ikashaitanyika. Mutengo wehuku wakutenga sari, mutengo wehuku wakutenga sari, mutengo weimba ndo yawerenji, mutengo weimba ndo yawerenji, migwagwa yawe makuroba, migwagwa yawe makuroba, uni kumusha uni kuroba, time kumusha time kuroba, shona ikashaitanyika.
Zimbabwe has established an anti-corruption board, a board that is mandated by the constitution, a commission that is mandated by the constitution to deal with all allegations of corruption and to end corruption in the country. Now, corruption has been viewed as one of the biggest setbacks in our economic endeavors and the endeavors of the people of Zimbabwe to live a better life and to enjoy what is offered by the nation for the improvement economically, socially, and politically of the people of Zimbabwe. Now, this is the Free Talk in proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation, and we are in studio this evening to discuss with the board, with the commission that is mandated to interrogate corruption, to respond to corruption, and to end all forms of corruption, and that is the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission. When we get back, we will be speaking to the commissioner in charge of speaking on behalf of the commission. This is the Free Talk. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us on the program, The Free Talk, in proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation. Now, joining us is the spokesperson of the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, Commissioner John Makamuli. Now, he's going to be talking to us about the public perception of Zacc, the public perception of corruption in this country, and what is the real issues on the ground. Now, thank you very much, Commissioner, for joining us, and welcome to Free Talk.
Thank you very much, Blessed, for inviting me to this very important program.
Commissioner, there is a perception out there. Now, maybe let's just start from the beginning. The Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission is supposed to respond to corruption, it's supposed to deal with corruption. What has it done this far to dealing with corruption in Zimbabwe?
Once again, thank you very much. I will speak on behalf of the current commission, which came into office in July 2019, which is a creature of the Constitution, Section 254, with a clear mandate to combat and prevent corruption in the public and private sectors. I think it's important to underscore that our mandate extends to public and private. But we have functions that are outlined in the Constitution. So in summary, investigations is one of the functions. So we investigate suspected corruption, we arrest culprits, we prepare dockets, we submit to the National Prosecuting Authority. We end there. That's the investigation side. But as a commission, we then said we want to make sure that our investigations also lead to asset recovery. So as we do criminal investigations, we also undertake parallel civil forfeiture investigations. So what in simple terms, someone may not be convicted on the criminal side, but can have assets forfeited. So we now have enabling legislation in this country to allow parallel financial investigations, the civil forfeiture part. So that is the investigations. But there is the whole preventive side of the work that the Commission has to do. So to prevent corruption through citizen awareness, for example, through enforcing systems and compliance in public and private institutions, where we say what are the statutes, what are the regulations, what are the laws governing an entity's operations. Is an entity abiding by those rules, regulations, statutes in order to prevent corruption? So we have a unit specifically which goes to entities to review systems and review compliance issues. Then we have the whole research unit to do research so that we inform policy in as far as preventing corruption is concerned. So we have a unit there, we have public education unit, so that this whole preventive side is also very, very important. So since this commission came into office, I will start with the investigation side because most people are interested in investigation.
Sure.
But I needed to clarify. It's important you as TV people as well to educate. People understand that's the prevention and investigation. So on the investigative side, when we came into office, we said we need to build capacity first. We need to have the requisite capacity to be able to undertake investigations that are becoming more and more complex. Right. So we recruited. Thanks to Treasury, they gave us some funding to be able to recruit. I don't want to say we've managed to recruit all the expertise that we require, but there is an improvement in that area. We entered into partnerships with our partners, international and local, to train our investigators. So various training programs have been undertaken. For example, in the area of cyber crime. So that there's been some improvement in that area. So in terms of investigations, I would say the quality of our investigations has improved. Then if you look at when we started, we're only able to handle about 80 dockets per year to successfully complete 80 investigations and submit to NPA. The following year, we moved up to 180 dockets that we managed to complete and submitted to NPA. But the number of reports that are coming increasing by the day. as an example, just last year we had a 32% increase in the number of reports filed with Zacc. So there is an interest out there. But let me hasten to say, not all those cases are corruption related. So we have a mandate where we then refer cases, some of the cases to Zacc. It's in the constitution. So we have referred several. And this year we have said, let's deliberately focus more on high impact corruption issues. Corruption issues with a high impact on society well-being. High profile cases. And when I say high profile, I don't only refer to personalities involved, but the quantum of the corruption involved. So I can be John McCamure, not high profile, but if I steal $1 billion, that's a high profile case. So it's important for the public to understand when we say high profile, it's both the personality and also the quantum. So this year it's a deliberate move we have taken to say we focus more on this high profile with high impact on society, and we are currently pursuing quite a number of interesting corruption issues that have been reported to the Commission. So you can see there's been some progress in the area of investigations, still a long way to go. Like I said, investigations has become a very complex area, sophisticated. You need expertise to unpack some of these issues, and we're trying to improve in that area. That's investigations. On the preventive side, yes, we have embarked on serious awareness campaigns. We were mostly in the urban areas previously, but this year we've gone out into the rural areas. We've launched what we call provincial anti-corruption awareness campaigns. We went to Masvingo, we went to Midlands. So far, we've been to Masvingo. We've launched what we call anti-corruption awareness chapters in those provinces. We'll be visiting all the rest of the provinces. Thanks to, again, Treasury availing funding, thanks to our development partners as well coming in to provide funding for the provincial awareness campaigns. And we have so many partners now that previous commissions were unable to work with, but this commission deliberately said we work with everyone, and they've come on board. We are leveraging on their resources, on their programs, and going out to spread anti-corruption messages, and messages are getting out there, as reflected by an increase in reports that we receive. Our systems and compliance unit has done wonders so far. Further areas for improvement. We have just last year alone, we managed to carry out 10 compliance checks in 7 rural district councils and 3 town councils. And those compliance checks revealed the rot in these councils. And we came up with some people were arrested. Then other issues that just required administrative correction. We came up with implementation matrices. They came here, all these councils, they signed implementation matrices. And now, most of them, they are at least 70% implementation of the recommendations that we made. So this year alone, we have already done Mazoe, currently being finalized. We are in Mtare, the team is in Mtare as we speak. We have done Berengwa. So far this year, we've done Chegutu. So we are not only targeting local authorities, but we also moving to other public entities. Currently, there is a comprehensive systems review being undertaken at Ministry of Mines. We have done one for Ministry of Industry and Commerce, leading to the arrest of some officials. So those comprehensive systems reviews are being undertaken. We'll be moving to other ministries, especially those that we know are highly prone to corruption. Those that we're going to target more of those. There are areas that are highly prone. Ministry of Mines, for example. That's why we targeted Ministry of Mines, because the mining sector is a sector highly prone to corruption. So those systems reviews, compliance checks will be stepped up. So it's a long way to go. I agree. I know public perception is still negative, which is expected where we're coming from. But with the collaboration that we've entered into, we think it will change.
Let me take you back before we go to the public perception. Let me take you back to the issue where you spoke about the increase in number of dockets. People would want to know the high value dockets that you are holding, who's involved or what is involved in them.
Yeah, I can't divulge those that we are investigating, but I think those that are before the courts, it's now public record. Some of the high profile figures that have been arraigned before the courts, and some have lost their jobs, which previously it was unheard of that a minister would lose a job. So it has happened. We have no control over what courts decide. The determination from the courts, it's up to them to acquit or convict someone.
But on that aspect, is the conviction or acquittal is based on what you present in court?
No. It's also based on to what extent the defense is able to argue, and also the other factors that that come into play. But let me say that yes, we can further improve. There is always room for improvement when it comes to the dockets that we submit to NPA. And how we are trying to address that is where we are now working together with NPA as we investigate, so that it becomes prosecutor-led investigation, so that we avoid the back and forth. Zacc has come up with a docket, we just send it. First time NPA is seeing the docket, then they say there are areas that are not in order, it comes back, we send it back. So our teams now sort of like liaising, working together. There is a liaison sort of like committee in place, so that we have a watertight docket. Those are some of the actions that we are taking. But the public must understand that when someone is arraigned before the courts, it's either you are convicted or acquitted. And one other issue that I want to point out is there's been serious interference with witnesses and whistleblowers in this country. And we are happy that now Cabinet has approved principles to the whistleblower protection law and the witness protection law. So we are happy about that, but we still have a long way to go, because the bill has been gazetted, it goes through parliament processes. But anyway, it's a good start. But we need to protect our witnesses. Witnesses, some are developing cold feet and refusing to stand in a court of law. It's happening. So some cases are crumbling because witnesses decide not to pursue. So there are those instances where then someone is acquitted.
Let us talk about the public perception, Commissioner, because the issue that you raise is at the center of public perception, the acquittal, mostly, of people who have been convicted in the eyes of the public as being corrupt. Now, and this normally happens with top fish, your drugs get, for instance, where you've seen all those acquittals coming through, and people are thinking, no, there is political interference in the fighting of corruption.
I can only speak about Zacc. Because it's very important to separate mandates. I don't want to speak about the courts, why the courts have made a certain determination, because it's not within my my mandate to speak about that. I can't speak on behalf of NPA. But as far as Zacc is concerned, in our investigations, I can assure the nation that I've not witnessed any political interference. As far as the Zacc mandate of investigating corrupt cases is concerned, I don't know what then happens at the courts there. I'm not saying that there is corruption there is political interference. I think it would be better for the Judicial Service Commission. It would be better for you to have a follow-up program with the Judicial Service Commission to understand better the acquittals, convictions, and also NPA to understand better the prosecution side. So as far as Zacc is concerned, no political interference in our part. The challenge we face is getting the evidence that we require. Getting the evidence that we require. You know.
But you are Zacc.
Yes, we
you
are
must
Zacc.
get that evidence.
Yes, blessed, we are Zacc. You know.
So why are you failing?
You have to prove beyond any reasonable doubt that someone committed a criminal conduct, corruption, beyond any reasonable doubt. So you will then find that when we are investigating, if for example a minister, I'm just giving an example, is issued verbal instructions to say award John Makamure this contract, this tender. It's a verbal instruction. It will be very difficult to prove beyond any reasonable doubt that the minister abused his or her office. So those are the challenges we face. And we need our witnesses and our whistleblowers to be able to come forward and assist and furnish us with this evidence we require. We will be investigating, yes, but investigations, you need someone to cooperate. If you work for an organization and you've got the reports we need, the documents we need, and you decide not to furnish them to Zacc, Zacc will never be able to get those documents. It's a fact. So those are the challenges. We need in this country the appropriate legal framework that will give confidence to our whistleblowers that let me cooperate and I will feel safe. I feel safe, I'm protected. So that's why I'm actually urging the relevant authorities now to expedite enactment of this whistleblower witness protection law. It's long overdue because witnesses are developing cold feet, quite a number, are deciding not to cooperate.
But don't you have powers to raid offices, to raid documents, to raid in investigating?
We can, but if people are not cooperating, Steve, even if I come to HSTV and and try to raid and somebody is not cooperating, I will never be able to find the documents because you can hide them. You see, so we still need people that cooperate. So this is why this commission, if you hear us, the chorus is being stakeholder involvement, because we realize that it won't be possible to win this fight without engendering that public confidence. And we know some think, nothing will happen, nothing will come out. We know, but we need to give that confidence to our public that the anti-corruption fight is serious. That's why this whole value chain, from investigations to convictions, acquittal, must be more efficient. Must work more effectively. The whole value chain. If one part is not working properly, then the whole anti-corruption fight is severely compromised, because you then public confidence. People are more interested in the ultimate. What is the outcome of all this? What has happened? So we are cognizant of that. Yeah. So you need all the parts to work together. So this is why this commission then decided, let's have a national anti-corruption strategy. Previous commissions failed to craft one, which is a government strategy, which tries to promote a collaborative effort. So we now have this in place. We have an implementation framework. Some things are now moving. The collaboration is now working because of this national anti-corruption strategy. The implementation framework, for example, we have the high-level steering committee. That steering committee has representatives from all the key stakeholders, including civil society, including the NANCOS, TIZ, law society. They sit on that steering committee, chambers of business, and the key line ministries, Attorney General, ZIMRA. They all sit. Is a 33-member steering committee chaired by the Zacc chairperson. That is this apex board to implement the national anti-corruption strategy. Then we have 6 subcommittees now dealing with 6 key thematic areas. For example, one thematic area is to do with investigations, and the other one is to do with accountability and transparency in public entities. The other thematic area is to do with witness protection. The other one is legal reform, and the other one is political parties transparency, and we have parliament actively involved. So there are things now, even the whistleblower that I'm talking about, now that principles have been agreed, it was as a result of the work undertaken by the steering committee. But the steering committee, its membership is high level. Only the ministers or permanent secretaries sit in the steering committee, and their names were gazetted. Then if you are talking about law society, it can only be the head of law society. If you're talking about TIZ, it can only be the executive director of TIZ. So these are some of the reforms, things that we are now trying to put in place to try and build that public confidence, so that it doesn't become a them and us like in the past.
How does public confidence come when people read reports on issues around corruption? The Auditor General's report, for instance, it speaks about high-level corruption at Wange Colliery, for instance, and Zacc has never done anything about it.
I will correct you on that one, Blessed. We may not have done Wange that you mentioned, but it doesn't mean that we are shying away from Wange. There are many others that we have done, and what we then did about Auditor General's reports, we said, let's work with the Auditor General. So we signed an MOU with the Auditor General and said, we need your expertise to further unpack. Not all matters raised by the Auditor General are corruption related, by the way. Some are just compliance issues. So what we do is when the report comes out, we then do a detailed analysis and we seek further information from the Auditor General so that we pick out corruption related issues. That's what we deal with, only corruption related. So fraud issues, abuse of office issues, etc. So when we do that, we then, if we see that this is a criminal matter, investigations goes in. If we think that this is simply about compliance, we have written to local authorities, for example, all the local authorities, to say, always give us updates on how you have implemented the Auditor General's reports. So the updates are coming. So of criminal nature, we deploy investigators. So we are not doing nothing about it. We are actually serious about the Auditor General's reports. We have said to our investigators, you don't only wait for reports that are filed, complaints made by the public. Let's be proactive as a commission. Make use of the Auditor General's report, because there are leads there in that report. Commence your investigation. I know you want, Blessed, you want results. I know everyone in Zimbabwe, me included, I want immediate results. But to assure you, it's not correct that Zacc then is just silent about it, shies away from these reports. We have to deploy resources. Sometimes it takes time to get the necessary information, carry out the investigations. And also remember, just in 2021, we received 1,500 complaints Right? We have a team of investigators. The staff complement, I would say, so at about 55 or less investigators. So there are these complaints that come that have to be considered, looked at. Then we have these other reports that we have to deal with. So sometimes because of resource constraints, we may appear as not executing our mandate. We're not moving fast enough, I agree, because of resource constraints, but we're very committed to be tackling those issues.
But Commissioner, there are some people that look untouchable. I mean, just human rights lawyer Beatrice Mtetwa wrote to you asking you to investigate after a series of international reports came out fingering Sakunda and people like Tagwide in corruption, and the nation is waiting to hear what you have done. Can you tell us if you have done anything on those aspects?
I will not go into investigations currently underway targeting certain, let's say, companies or individuals. I think that would not be proper on my part.
But this is a national, this is important.
Yes, suffice to say that all reports that we receive are seriously considered by the Commission. And if you go to the section 255, I'm not referring here to this specific issue. I don't want to comment about that specific issue.
Why not?
I'm just wanting you to give you what the Constitution says. We receive complaints. And when the Commission receives a complaint, it will consider the complaint and take action that it deems appropriate. That's what the Constitution says. So I think it's important for the public to understand that not all complaints that come to Zacc have to be investigated. Some will be referred to the appropriate authorities for further management. We do a lot of that. And the public does not know that sometimes we are very proactive and prevent corruption, and we don't talk about it, and prevent billions or millions being lost because of our proactiveness before a corrupt practice has taken place. We've done a lot of that. So we receive, we consider, we take action that we deem appropriate. So to assure you, all matters that we receive are considered and appropriate action taken, and there is no matter that will be avoided, and I will not talk about that specific matter.
But for the purpose of building public confidence, for the purpose of people knowing that Zacc is impartial, let us talk about these people, because they are seen to be very close to the executive, and this is where perception comes in, that there's political interference, because those who are close to executive are not spoken about.
Yes, perception comes because we have not shed more light on how we operate. So
Yes.
I'm happy that you came.
And you brought a few lights.
Yeah, so that we clear the air.
Yes.
And I want to assure the public that there are no sacred cows, to be honest. And the perception is there because people want quick wins. People want to see people go to jail. That's what people want to see. I understand that, but there is no one who is sort of like, I would say, captured Zacc, that someone can intimidate Zacc. You can't probe this and probe that. What I'm saying is sometimes some of these issues that are raised, right, on further in the interrogation, you realize probably these are more on civil issues, right, contractual disputes. And I'm not referring to any specific case. We have a many that we then try to delve deeper into, realize maybe these are just contractual disputes going on. Someone has failed to deliver, but doesn't mean that someone has committed fraud, for example.
Why don't you speak about that then?
I'm speaking about it, blessed.
Now.
Yeah, we need to speak more. But that's what then happens, that we need to understand what the mandate offenses are, that Zacc deals with. What we say corruption, and then what civil matters are.
So maybe let's define corruption.
So
Commission.
if you are contracted to deliver on a program and you delay, unless we manage to find, we need to find corruption there. Your failure to deliver is not corruption. Yes.
Yeah, so can we define corruption, Commissioner, for the benefit of our viewers? what is it that Zacc looks at and says this is corruption?
Corruption is generally defined as abuse of power for private gain. But the criminal code in Zimbabwe then goes on to list the mandate offenses that Zacc has to deal with. Of course, the first and foremost one is criminal abuse of office as a public officer. Right? So, and most of the cases that we deal with, I would say over 60% is to do with criminal abuse of duty by public officials, where you omit or make certain decisions for private gain. Right? Then the other offense is fraud, for example, is number 2 offense that we deal with. Then concealment of an interest in a transaction from a principal. Right, that's another mandate offense. Conflict of interest issues. So those are so there are 5 mandate offenses that Zacc has to deal with. Then all the others, yes, we can investigate, but the majority we then refer to Zacc. Where we need to further improve on our referral to Zacc is that the Constitution requires us to refer matters to Zacc, and Zacc is obliged by the Constitution to report back to Zacc on the results of their investigation. So we're working together to make sure that that constitutional provision is fulfilled. Like I said, this year we're focusing more on high value cases. For example, at least 100,000 if it's a fraud case. Zacc will only handle fraud cases worth at least 100,000 US.
But if it's a minister and they have a fraud case of $500, are you not interested in that?
No, we are very much, because what we are saying is
high value and high profile.
And it's high profile, but it's high profile. So yes, we can investigate the minister, especially public officials. We have discretion, although in our manual we are saying fraud cases at least 100,000, but when it comes to certain public officials that we expect them to be providing a public service, not to pursue personal interests, that Zacc will have an interest in those.
Now, I'm sorry to put you on the spot a bit, but of late I've seen on your Twitter handle or news talking about private lessons of teachers and classifying this as corruption. Now let's talk about that. How is that corruption?
I'm happy that you have asked that question, because I think there have been misrepresentations of what we said. I said the Constitution says we receive complaints from the public. So these are complaints we are receiving from the public, especially when we go to the rural areas on our anti-corruption awareness campaigns. Right? If we go to Mtoko, if you attend that meeting, the public in Mtoko will be complaining bitterly about what's happening in schools. But we don't pursue investigations. What we simply do is to just warn and say, this is what the law says. You need to stick to the law. You need to also, if there are administrative issues, go to the relevant education office to get those matters redressed. So that's how we intervene through our public education awareness campaigns. But when now it's written in the media, it's like Zacc is now leaving out big fish, more important corrupt issues, and dealing with extra lessons. And we're actually saying And some will say, so you want to arrest me if I've decided that my child must have extra lessons with a teacher, it's a private arrangement. We never said that. So you can still continue. What we were saying is there are teachers in schools. We've received so many reports where a school says someone is paid fees in full, right? But the child is barred from attending lessons because the parent has not paid money for extra lessons. That's what we were talking about. That you can't bar that child from accessing education because you need to top up for extra lessons, not private arrangements. So it's just that it's blown out of proportion. But we don't chase after that. We just try to advise and make sure that the right things are done.
Then there are people who make allegations or bold assertions on allegations of corruption. And when they come to report, you ask them to bring evidence. Is it not your responsibility
It's our responsibility
to get the evidence instead of telling someone who suspects that there's corruption to go and get the evidence for you?
Yeah, no, we always encourage. When they come here, we encourage. We appeal to them. If you have anything extra that you can share with us to facilitate our investigations, please do so. We don't demand and say, your matter, we are not going to pursue it because you haven't brought evidence. That's not true. But we try to investigate on our own. But why not, if someone can also give us clues where we can get the information. If you have something, share with us. And some have cooperated and assisted us very much. But we are not abdicating on our responsibility to investigate. But investigation, you need some people to assist you.
I asked this question because when there were some PF youths who made allegations of corruption against certain people and they came here, they were told to bring evidence. And that was the end of the matter.
No, I don't think they said the correct, what came out of the meeting. I think it was a misrepresentation of what was discussed and agreed. They came, they promised themselves to bring additional information and evidence when we requested for that. Do you have anything extra you can give us? They promised to bring, but when they went back, started then saying, no, Zacc is now demanding that we provide evidence. But we were waiting for them to give us, what they promised. And that's the correct position.
You also mentioned that that as you do investigations, you also want documentation, and also as one of the criminal or essential matters that make up corruption is undue interest or interest of a public, or concealing interest rather, you said. But when, for instance, you have court documents which show top government officials have been benefiting from private individuals in deals, aren't you obliged to act?
Yeah, if there is sufficient information that we can use to prepare our docket and or pursue further investigations, of course we act. And we have never ignored such compelling evidence as a commission. If the examples, I would be happy, blessed, that if there are people that can also even come forward with.
Yeah, I can give you an immediate example.
You can finish us. Also, as journalists, by the way, you also have a duty to report corruption. As a citizen, you don't just you don't just ask hard questions, but you can also report corruption to Zacc, so that at least you're able to determine to what extent Zacc acts on reports.
Yeah, but the one that comes to mind is the divorce case between Mary Chiwenga and the vice president, when the vice president actually wrote in an affidavit that he had a car bought for him by Kudata Gwire, who is a major player in the command agriculture, is a major player in fuel supplies to government, buying your vice president vehicle, and there is that that affidavit, sworn affidavit, placed before a court in Zacc.
Before the courts.
Yes.
If a matter, you see, let me tell you, Blessed, if a matter is now before the courts, we don't interfere.
This is just a divorce proceeding, so it's not criminal.
No, but we can't interfere with a matter that is before the courts, because that is evidence being tendered in a matter before the courts. We can't do that. So and I don't want specific comment on that one, but suffice to say, if there are matters of such nature, we can't as a commission start delving into that,
because they will be sub judice.
Exactly.
Okay. And finally, as we close, I came across an audio and a statement that you did about the reports around the Auditor General. I'll give you an opportunity to speak about that.
The Auditor General, of course, Zacc is mentioned in the Auditor General's report, and by the way, the report is for 2017, not for 2019. The Zacc report that is mentioned by the Auditor General in the latest Auditor General's report is for 2017. So we have legacy issues that we inherited as a commission in terms of how financial management was being done. So there are legacy issues, issues that happened before this commission came into office in July 2019. So when we came into office, we realized that there were issues in that area. So we have gone on a program to clean up the books, and we are cognizant of those legacy issues that are being addressed. But going forward, the time that this commission is in office, our finances will be clean.
Let's talk about those 2017. Are you investigating them?
Of course, we can't investigate ourselves, but other agencies can investigate. ZRP, you can investigate us, yes.
But you're not in
we
office.
can't investigate ourselves. Yeah, but they can investigate what's happening at the commission. The same way that if there is an issue at ZRP, ZRP can't investigate itself if there are corruption issues. Normally, the best thing to do is for Zacc to investigate. But you will find that, like I said, you will find that the Auditor General is mentioning mainly about compliance issues, a failure to provide supporting documentation. Right? So, which on its own is not corruption. Right? So, its books are not in order, but that's why we
could be an effort to conceal corruption.
that's why we are saying we then have to investigate. But there are people who quickly jump to conclusions to say, there is no supporting documentation, so corruption, Zacc should arrest someone. No. You need then to, sometimes you then realize, but supporting documentation was not provided, but is there. It has happened in other cases. So that's why we then delve into these matters further to be able to pick out the corruption matters that we then pursue. And the majority will then realize it's more to do with compliance. For example, asset register. Our investigations will then go in to look at, because you don't have an updated asset register, do we have assets missing, or who is abusing an asset? That's what we will look at. But having no updated asset register on its own is not corruption.
Amazing. I want to thank you very much, Commissioner, for opening up your doors and having this conversation with us. But we also went on the streets and spoke to, actually we were on the campaign trail, and we're covering all political parties. And we spoke to different political party supporters to ask them, would they report corruption to Zacc? What they would need to be able to report on corruption. And we are going to allow our viewers to watch those voices and hear from from the people, and also just put it together with what you were saying, the issues of building public confidence.
Okay.
The fight against corruption has been an election issue. ZANU-PF, the CCC have all pledged to fight corruption. So on this campaign trail, we asked the supporters of different political parties what they made of the pledges made by their leaders on fighting corruption. We also looked at what the Whistleblower Act could help achieve in response and fighting against corruption. There is a desire, politicians have said, to have a zero tolerance in corruption across the country.
Ndinoripota uori nokuti uori hauna kunaka. Tukuti pasinawo unouraya nyika, unouraya magariro nemhuri dzevakawanda. Saka tichiti pasine uori.
Inini chinondisunda kuti ndimhangare uori. Uori hwakaipa nokuti hatikwanise kubudirira munyika yeZimbabwe kana tichiita uori. Saka inini ndinoti kana uori hwaitwa ndinokwanisa kunomhangara kumapurisa kana kumhangara mudunhu randiri ndichimhangara kuvakuru kuita kuti uori hupere.
Ndinotisunga dambudziko rinoitika nderekuti mukatarisa kuti muZimbabwe muno corruption dzinoitwa dzese vanongosungwa nokutoburitswa nokuti same people vanozviita ivavo vanenge vari connected nevari kumusoro.
Issue ye-corruption ichakwanisa kuaffecta voti yedu. Ichaaffecta voti yedu pakuti kazhinji kacho ukatarisa sezvino zviraramira tiri kuita chinhu chese chiri kuda kunzi mari, handiti pese pauri panonzi mari, handiti mo. Saka time period yatiyave iyo yenoi, handiti ka you'd find kuti vamwe vanhu vachatadza kuita zvavari kuda kukwanisa kuita kana kuti svitumbu pa example yema-aspiring candidates, handiti muri kupona, vachatadza kunatsozvibudisa kuti munhu akaita sei, because vaivai vagara vane huori kare vaivai ndo vanenge vachitongoramba vachienda pamberi. Zvakafanana nezvino ukatarisa kuti mamwe ma-aspiring candidates havana chinhu, handiti muri kupona, but vagara vari kuba kudhara ivavo vanoo vamwe vari kudzoserwa futi pamapositions vanenge vaine zvinhu zvacho kudhara. Saka corruption obviously inotoaffecta mavotes kune vanhu vari aspiring vari proper futi.
Chinotisunga kuti ripote uori nyaya yekuti vanhu vanenge vachiita zvinhu zvisiri pamutemo, vachibira vanhu, vamwe vachitora mari kubva kune vanhu zveuori. Ndo zvatiri kuti say no to corruption.
Uori mwanangu ka ndo number one enemy yenyika ino. Tingamaya kuti sanctions and what not ka sanction aramboipa. If Smith chaichai paitoka anga ni sanctions but rujiji achienderera mberi. But muno Zimbabwe ka toda kuti aziye sanction kunyeba tichiba takawanda kuseri kwechigunu. Corruption ndiyo iri kuuraya nyika mwanangu. Corruption is the dangerous enemy of this country. Tika eliminate corruption ka I think the country will go forward, and I think go to Zimbabwe got a bread basket, and we still have got the same resources assistant in Zimbabwe. But right now if you go to hospitals hakuna kana chinhu, but yet nema minerals ari kuflow achienda through Forbes border post pera called to China.
Zimanga yaori ine yakuti ndiraitwa vheva ndirwadza pamoyo pangu. Vanhu vakaona vari kutora hori but vakwanisa kumhangara, asi munhu zvinomubata pamwoyo pake anomhangara hori, but tokudza nyika yeZimbabwe kuti imhangare hori. Nenhau yekuti hori ukati nomwe wako uchiona unofanira kunomhangara, asi hatisi kuzvigona manje. Nenhau yekuti tinongofunga kuti handite zvake, but munhu kuti amhangare hori anenge arwadziwa nezvaanenge aitirwa iye pachake.
Well, as a concerned citizen, I have the right to report, but the question is, uri kuripota kunani? Because uko harurume munhu ari kurudyisa. These people are handpicked by the system, and they report to the system, and they are paid by the system. So how then do you expect them? Kana vachigara musystem, vachikudzwa nesystem, vodyiswa nesystem, how do you expect them to kubata munhu wachaita corruption? Because vari kuita corruption, for your own information, corruption ikuitwa necitizen, yes, but the greatest scale which is affecting the system, kana which is affecting the policy framework yedu isusu iri kubva pama individuals anotozikamwa vari vanhu vakuru whom we cannot point, andika, because ndo vanenge even if you pointed them nothing will happen, because ndo vari kuita call the shots.
Corruption uori wakaipira pekuti ndo uri kuparadza nyika. Makansela zeMDC Chamisa ndo awanda kupinda machemba ekansel. Vari kuparadza mugwagwa, hatina sewage iri kufamba, mvura haizi kufamba, development mumugwagwa haizi kufamba. Saka nekudaro zvinotisunda kuti tikwanise kuripota corruption, kuti uhori dai wamiswa napresident waMnangagwa muhurumende yeZANU-PF, dai uhori wakwanisa kumiswa kuti muzvikoro nemuzvipatara zvinhu zvikwanise kufamba.
Nori kuona zvikoitika pano neShangoni, riri kuona nazvikoroni hezvi vatu vakojena na$2 ungari usina $2 mutu zvikoyambori mwana angasi good chikoroni vakopfesesa ori wege health akovhudziwa uri adhe na$2 usina $2 zvikoyambori mwana wawo angasi jeni chikoroni.
Inini handifarire huori, handifarire kuti vanhu varwisane, handifarire kuti vanhu vaite chitsotsi. Inini ndakaona chinhu chakadaro ndinoedza nepandinogonera kuti ndiripote. The bad thing about it, ndezvokuti wakanoripota kwacho mupurisa wacho wauri kuripotera anoita sekuti haasi mupurisa wenyika, mupurisa wepolitical party inonzi ZANU-PF. Good example, wakabirwa nhasi kana kuti pane pawaona paitwa house breaking, wakasvika kupolisi wakanoripota, vanokuudza kuti hatina fuel kana kuti woita sei kuti tiite zvauri kutaura izvo. Asi vakanzwa kuti ruling triple C iri kuita rari, vanhu ivavo vanenge vaine fuel. Nhasi chaiye vanga vaine rori ravo panapa, vaine motikari nedzinembwa vanga vainadzo, because vanga vasina kunzwa approval yerari yanhasi. Chinondisunda semucitizen kuti ndimhangare corruption inyaya yekuti this nation I belong to it, so even the future of it I want it to be the best.
Now there's been a push for the Whistleblower Act, and just recently Cabinet approved the principles of what would make the Whistleblower Protection Act. But do the people of Zimbabwe understand what the Whistleblower Protection Act, if it comes law, will do and how it will help in the fight of corruption? Most of them have not heard of this, but some, they are enlightened and they know that they need to be protected once they blow the whistle on corruption.
Kusaziva hangu mumusha handisati ndambonzwa nezvayo.
Whistleblowers Protection Act ndakambonzwa nezvayo.
Ndakamboinzwa.
I understand this. Ndenzwisisa nekuti ndikwanoshandira itoriko kutori maenvelope andoiswa imomo.
I didn't hear you on that.
No, I've heard, but chokwadi ndechekuti iko we need such a framework in Zimbabwe nekuti protect our citizens, because by speaking unova vilified, unova exposed, and you suffer threats. We have heard of those things and they happen on a daily basis. Even now we have reports going around of what is going to happen in Ep07 after elections. Saka izvo zvinoisa vanhu fear. By the way, fear breeds misery in a society. Vanhu vakagara vachingwenda vachishika, the next thing is vanhu vanove so miserable. But we need a change. We need a government which brings confidence muvanhu. Government inoita kuti tive ne conducive environment, a permissible framework yema policies inoprotecta vanhu, inopusha nyika kuti iende mberi.
Ndasandanzwa nezvayo.
No, atoipa zvezvino. Ndaridhivi urione hapano neShangoni, nodai uone zvazvikoyambora ari kuona zvitu zvote zvoringana zvikuwa freedom.
Now, a number of people, owing to the harsh economic environment, have participated in corruption. Some, when they see corruption, they just turn a blind eye, because in most cases it does not concern them. Or if they do attempt to report corruption, they, at the end of the day, appear to be the accused persons. They are raged and barraged in public, and they become the scapegoat, whilst the real criminals are let go.
Kwarago ndofana kuenda kune anti-corruption vaya but ndevezanu ka hakuna kwainomboinda tokofana kuti ripoti yangu asi kunokonzi haibenziri ere kuti utamba nenhamba dzako ukafona nhamba dzako hadzichabatiki. They are the same. Zvafanire Zacc. They are partisan, those people.
Ndinofonera police kuudza vavakidzi vangu vari padhuze kuti apa paita huori. Police anti-corruption ndo basa rayo, ndo report.
Tinonomangara kuvakuru kana kuvezvemutemo munyika muno. Ini ndakaona panoitwa huori kana uori uyu ini kana ndichikwanisa kuti ndiwanikwe ndichiita kuti zvinhu izvi zvisaitwe ndinoonawo zvekuita, asi kana ndatadza kuti ndikwanise kutsura kana kurayira pane zviri kuitwa zveuori ndinonomhangara kumapurisa.
As a citizen tinofanira kunge tichitobatana pamwe chete tichirwisa corruption nekuiripota. But muZimbabwe manje it's a different story altogether because kuripota kwacho zvakangofanana because varipo wacho ndivo vanenge vachitozviita zvinhu zvacho zvese kusvika pagrasi.
Tikaona hori tofanira kumhangara kumapurisa kana kune bato rinoona nezvecorruption munyika kuti zvinhu zvimire zvakanaka. Saramba tine hori mukati menyika yeZimbabwe.
To myself, I try to cancel. But if it comes to a high extent, I can make a safe for myself to report.
If anyone do corruption, Kwandini, at the same time, we are talking about politically. At the same time, we are saying, kana iri zanu yaenda, zvanakira imbwa kunyenga bonga, kana bonga rakuda zvanhu zvadini, zvashata. Handiti? Saka hatina zvatikwanisa kuita on that, but they have weapons on that.
Well, personally, I've made several reports to the government, police department and the local authority Munomep with. But believe you me, there's a lot of red tape and bureaucracy that goes on there, and they exactly what they want to avoid. People who are known as very developmental, they give you a cold shoulder. They don't entertain you. They appear busy, but they are idiots. They don't know what they do. Qualifications. So you can expect how much do you expect? Qualification yacho, akurana office yacho, uchitoziziva iwe. And I don't go cold shoulder because I know that pro developmental vanotora zvinhu along party lines, which is very sad and disheartening.
Ini semugari wemuZimbabwe pandinoona corruption ndinokwanisa kuti kana ndichikwanisa kutsura mwoyo wangu semuZimbabwe ndomutsura, kana ndisiri kukwanisa ndoita kuti ndiripote nyaya yacho corruption.
Rikonyagori iri ituwise mucitizen mumwe namumwe isatojena pakati ori ipati ya political party ya TPC, political party ya MDC, political party ya ZANU-PF. Rikonyagori ituwise mucitizens wothe mumwe namumwe isangojena kadzi politics. Itotuwisa mumwe namumwe aone shango nori rothe rima citizens apa.
Now most people would want to see the Whistleblower Protection Act in Zimbabwe. But what is it that it really entails? What interests them? Reward. Is it reward? Is it the arrest of the perpetrators? Is it a zero corruption tolerant society? Is it a better health service delivery because there is no more corruption? What exactly are the issues that they want to see?
Bandiko renyirororo riri registered here munyika rekuti munhu wese izawe kuti kune issue yamuri kutaura. Iri registered here zviri kuzikanwa nenyika yese here zvamukundivhunza. Nokuti ini nhasi ndasangana nazvo kuda inyaya yekuti manetworks, maredhiyo kana kuti riri kupinda zvisingazikanwe nenyika. Asi kana richizikanwa nenyika tinozvitenda kana nyika ichiziva.
Aya ndinofunga kukauya iyoyo inofunga inobatsirawo nyika yedu, inobatsirawo Zimbabwe nekuti iendewo mberi.
Ini ndinoti ngaitibatsire nekuti vangakwanise kana kuti vangaise zvinhu zvinoita kuti tisawane vanhu vanoita uori, sekunge kana kuti mapurisa ngaavemo pese pese panzvimbo kuitira kuti isusu uori hwacho nokuti hwatonyanyisa kana kutoisa zvinhu zvinoita kuti tigarewo takasununguka munyika pamusaka peuori.
Yes, zvinotibatsira kana takwanisa kuzviimplementa paground. Dambudziko ratinaro nderekuti vane simba munyika munomo vanosenzesa vanhu vari pasi vachimanipulata power yavo vachitora zvinhu pasi. Kuti tiri kuzviona zvichiitika pasi kubva kumusoro zvichidzika pasi.
Zvinobatsira zvikuru mukati mezvinhu zvaitika, zvimwe zvemainputs epfumvudza kune vamwe vanhu vaita hori vaoneka vachitora zvinhu izvo vachipa vanhu zvisiri pamutemo, vamwe vachibhadharisa mari. Saka nenyaya yescheme yecorruption yauya ichatibatsira kuti tinge tichipiwa zvinhu zvakaenderana zviri pamutemo pasina hori.
Inotibatsira as an individual depending nokuti vacho vari kureceive macalls acho ndevekupi. Because kana vari the same body inongofa yakaload. Hakuna hazvina zvazobatsira.
Ini zvotobatsira, ndiko kwandinoshanda ini zvotobatsira. nekwandogara zvotobatsira nekuti kwandinogara ininika zvotoitika zvakawanda nekuti inyaya yekuti kwandoshandira inini zvoitika zvakawanda kune vamwe vanotobhadharisa vanhu mari dzekupinda basa asi zvotoitwa whistle blow zvichitoitwa asi hazvitwe inonzi whistle blow zvoitwa muenvelope inonzi ndingakurasira asi zvoitwa muenvelope yekuti iwewe unongoripota zvawaona haudze munhu envelope yako unongonyora nhamba dzaunoda iwewe zvikaonekwa zvikapurukwa kuti ndezvechokwadi unokwanisa kuona kuti zvikaonekwa ndezvechokwadi you can get a reward but people they are fear to report because if they report something vakunoko havana reward.
Kana maZimbabweans ati handiti vanotisa zvavanoda kana takaita bumbiro rakanaka richacharire kuti mareforms aidini aitwa those people vamuri kuonawo vanokwanisa kuti sei kufara on that.
What I have to do is to report. Yeah, but in most cases when you report something, if that person has power, you might face horrible things. Yeah.
It will help big time, but the truth is we need an overhaul of the whole system. Because we have heard my acts, we have heard my commissions, but nothing materializes because they just sit there as white elephants, pleasing their masters, ululating when they pass. So the truth is we may keep on having policies, but without a political will to implement those policies impartially, we'll never make headways.
Ndinotenda kuti mutemo uwo ndikasvika pauri unokwanisa kundibatsira kuti uori upere munyika yedu.
Rokonyaga uona vachishuma vana dzigoro even za reaction uri ratovafonera uri avadhe ngeno epwetu una corruption yetu kuona zvezvino nori una chimwe chipinga chori local board yaichida malocation avo rini iko rengesa mastand avo rini zvezvino ine ndikavudza uri zoupa stand yaone andikare ndandinayo stand yanga vakopfesesa so ndikonyaga zvori ruve na reaction uri ratovafonera chipinga chikoitea zvitu ritovafonera havadhe nautavanya vaone corruption ikoitiwa na local board o ndi police station ikoita idzi nori kojena izvo ndizveterapi mutu wototsva wotorepa utori 1 hour pedzi udomuona kotochimbira nadzibhadhani otobhadhera otovapa cheredi yaone iyotojena chikwamana so zvino uri kotonyaga reaction, that's point number 1. Number 2 uri kotonyaga vatu vakotoshuma vasayamba uri kuita zvapolitics vadori vakuita zvacorruption vakotwisa macitizens zvikoyamba shango yose.
I think if the right of a human being is active, we will be strong as citizens and we will be safe as citizens and we will be happy. We will be a good nation.
Mutemo yoyo techida kuti pange paine nhau dziri kuitika munyika imo munzeuori kutaura zvakanyatsojeka nenhau dziri kuitika munyika sekudzvanyirwa kuri kuita vanhu senge kazhinji vanhu kudzvanyirwa kwatiri kuita ndekwekuti tinenge chida kuti tito freedom yedu yekuti tiwane pekutengesera pakanaka tifambo zvakanaka sisi tinoita senge tiri kunodzvanyirirwa mukati menyika yedu inei tichipazirwa nzvimbo nekanzuru chaicho yatinenge tiinayo noyachipazira pekutengesera isu tinenge chida kuti tionewo kuti tiraramisewo mhuri dzedu saka ndomwohori unenge uchitikawo mukati menga kuti monzi hamufaniri kuti mutengese isu tichida kuti tichirarama nekutengesa nevhenda iyoyo.
Ini zvandotarisira zvinofanira kunge zvirimo mutemo pamusoro peuori ndinoti vanhu kana vabatwa nenyaya yeuori ngavapiwe mutongo unorwadza kuitira kuti uori upere mukati menyika.
Zvatiri kutarisira kuti Whistleblowers Act iite inofanira kunge ichisvika pagrassroot nokuti pasi pane zvinotoitika pasi zvamunofungidzira kuti zvisiko azvi zvichitoitika pasi because vanhu vari kumusoro vanotoseenzesa vamwe vanhu vari pasi kuita corruption ichitotangira kuno pasi zvichitokwira zvichienda kumusoro kwacho. Like structure yayo tinotarisira kuti involve vanhu vese from the grassroot zvichikwira yobata mastakeholders ese kuti tikwanise kurwisa chinhu tiri pamwe chete.
Toda kuti tinge tichidzivirirwa tichibatwa nemutemo tichioneka tichitedzera zvinhu zviri pamutemo weZimbabwe.
Inini I should think mwanangu ka to be frank ka havafaniri kungosarudza vega panofanira toda inonzi democracy votora from all different parties atika political parties ese vochisarudza vanhu vanonondorisiva mawhistleblowers so that ndoziva kuti kunowedo triple C kana ndaona zviriko ndoendesa ikoko ndozati vanoacta
vanenge vari whistleblowers iyoyo inyaya yekuti vandinofarira kuona zvirimo mani ndezvekuti chokutanga vanhu vakubatswa kupinda basa rapfe kuti munhu vari kubatswa kupinda basa kunzeyo pinda basa kuti ndipe mari upinde basa ndechokutanga anotaura izvozvo. Chechitatu chekuti iwe uwane something or else like a stand or whatever zvinokwanisa kubatsira mupenyu wako unzi bhadhara mari whatever to do with your benefit in your life you have to pay for something to get it. Ndobva ndinoti vazvidiwe.
We as Zimbabweans, we guide ourselves, and also no one, we don't have protection from the police, the civil society, the civil whatever, but we remain as Zimbabweans and we protect us, we protect our own ourselves on that.
For whistleblowers to be kept anonymous, number one, there have to be some incentives to be put so that if one reports, you are going to receive something. I think that will help a lot.
Point number 1 is non-partisan application of the law. Point number 2 is protection, safety, and guaranteed. Point number 3 is there has to be a call center, yeah? Accept calls from across the country. There also has to be a 24-hour thing that quickly responses to corruption. Because mamani along the way road saka ukafona like zvedu zvezetaRPM munomepwezi inotanga yambotora nguva yotienda unotsvaga mota ugotitakura. Such things don't want to be seen in a society if we want to progress, because vanhu vanofanira kuita confidence nesystem yavo, and which we are lacking. Pasina buy-in ema-citizens, nothing moves.
Zvandinoda kumuona mutemo ndezvekuti even ma-ministers edu nema-MP nema-councillors atinovhotera muZANU-PF kana achita uhori anongobva pachigaro umwe wouya asingaite uhori kuti nyika yedu iendere mberi, upfumi hweZimbabwe nyika tiendere mberi.
Ezviro zviona nori even ndikopa example ya polisi yafana na department yavako yahamba ye ti polisi iko tendero uri ishume iko tuisa mumwe na mumwe isa dhinge no rimise marala avo rine vakomfesesa ndizvone zvandikoyamba uri heyi ya corruption aishumi zvezvino vakomfesesa nori current president vavo rine ukorojiya zvinhu zvose masore mapurisa nazvote zvikoyamba uri ndizvavo. That's why ndikoyamba zvezvo uri aishumi.
Regardless of all the promises that political players have pledged to fight corruption, but do the citizens see any real fight against corruption? With corrupt deals happening day in, day out, the catch and release, where a lot of ministers who have been arrested on allegations of corruption have not been convicted, have been let go, save for one conviction of Undengi, the former Minister of Energy, over alleged corrupt deals at Zacc. The rest have been let scot-free. Is there a real fight against corruption in this country?
There hasn't been, because the truth of the matter is that those who are charged with actually weeding out corruption turn out to be the corrupt people themselves. Let's look at Zacc. Zacc, the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, they have not effected a single conviction, yet they waste millions of money, of taxpayers' money, to be funded. So the people who are charged with dealing with corruption are not actually serious about doing so, because they themselves are the most corrupt people in this country.
Apana vakaisa chikomisheni chavo chavanoisa vanhu vezanu chinotoporomota uhori. Munhu akanga abatwa izvozvi alright vanoti ana chiuri vakaluta, ana ani vakaluta, vavanotaura matop executive ezanu ava kuti ma-G40 vanditi vari mujeri hereke zvinezvi havasa nditi, asi upfumi hwenyika vakaluta. Chavakazoita kuti varatidze vanhu kuti isu hatisi kufara nezvakaitwa nevakanga varipo chii. Hapana, ukatarisa zvinhu zvese zvaiitwa paina Mugabe, Mnangagwa akanga aripo. Saka chazochinja nhasi chii? Vari kutongoramba vachiita zvavakasirwa navaMugabe. zvatowesi mugabe wacho futi totoona sekuti aitori nani pane zvaakuitwa ike zvinezvi because ukatarisa mugabe ka chingwa aitombotiwo akanzwa kuti chakwirawo tomboitawo voice yekuti ngachidzike but uyu aripo uyu hapana anotokudza kuti kana washaya chekukwidza bhurugu ndipurezidendi here akadaro ndekupi kwatiri kuenda napurezidendi akadaro? We are tired of this nonsense. Taneta navo baba ava ngavachimbobva nehurumende yavo ine huori ine umbavha ngavachimbobva tipauyewo new leadership. Inini ndikakuudza ndiri mwana womuovheta, mai vangu vakatorwa hondo vakasiya inini ndiri wani nditori mwana womuovheta, but ndinonyatsoshama kuti chakarwirwa chii kuti amai vangu vakarwira tsvina idzodzi dzatiri kuita vakafira tsvina idzodzi dzatiri kuita zvinondirwadza, so ndinobatikana. So
hapana chati chaitika nekurwisana neuori. Tiri kuona kuti uori huri kunyanya, huri kuramba huchiwedzera kumapurisa, kuiwo watungamiriri weZANU-PF wacho wakuru vari kuramba vachiita uori. Tinoona kuti vanhu vanosungwa, tinoona ana Priska Mufumira nyaya dzacho hadzina kwadzinoenda, tinongoona nyaya dzacho dzichizongopera dzakadaro, wakawanda wakasungwa. Wana Chomba hapana watatoona weZANU-PF vari kujeri, asi we-citizen tinoona wakasungwa wanoiswa mujeri wasina mhosva dzawapara. Saka iyo zvinezvi uori hapana chati chaitwa, ivo ndo vari kuita uori. We-Citizen Coalition for Change inotungamirwa nawaChamisa warongosungwa vasina mhosva dzawapara vachiswa mujeri pasina zvawapara. Saka izvozvo ndo zvatinoda kuti uori upedzwe.
Truly speaking, we haven't seen much in terms of fighting corruption. It is only lip service. ZANU-PF leadership doesn't walk the talk. Since this new dispensation came in, we saw no arrests. We have seen Chombo being accused of having millions at his home, Chipanga having millions at his home, but actually up to now we have seen nothing. So it means there is no progress. They are not walking the talk. So they must do something if they are serious. Because corruption has become a very big cancer in our society. So it is the one that has actually brought down the country. It is the one that has destroyed the economy. So they must do something.
Pari zvino hatisati tave nemasimba ekuti tirwise uori, because mukatarisa hurumende igere iripo pari zvino ndiyo iri kuita nezveuori, ende saka hatikwanise kuimisa pari zvino. Isu tikapinda ndo chinhu chekutanga kubvisa, Zimbabwe yochitanga kuchienda mberi. Once paitwa bhajeti kana ndere marodzi iroro, mari iyo inenge yakuzikanwa kunzi iri kuperera kuroad department, isingaende mupoketi yemunhu kana kuti yaminista upi neupi zvake. Anenge angoba anofanira kungosungwa nokuti development iitike uori upere.
Aiwa, kurwiswa iri kurwiswa, asi kuti tiri kurwisa vanhu vasiri ivo chete, handiti mapona. Bosi kazhinji kacho tikatotarisa seizve zvinezvi vakawanda pakagadzirwa Zacc yaye, handiti murupona, but ukada kutotarisa kuti Zacc yacho inoshanda here, inogona kunge idiyo yacho futi itori neuori. Saka hapana kwatinoenda, but vanhu kawanda vanenge vada kuti iite sei inge ichibviswa kana kuti inge isitoripo corruption, but tiri kurwisa chinhu chisingatoshandi kuti chibvisike.
Maonero angu kana ndakatarisa vatinoti vatungamiri vari pamusoro vari kutokurudzira corruption, nekuti hapana chandinoona chiri kuitwa chekuti corruption yacho idere. Nokuti nyange ukaona pari kuitwa corruption ukada kuti umhanye kune vaya vanotopuwa zvivharo zvokuti corruption irambe ichienda pamusoro.
There's a favorite saying among the people. We say don't be corrupt or don't steal because the government hates competition. Which group of people in this country is the most corrupt? Is it the police? Is it the politician? Is it civil servants, nurses, doctors, or teachers in schools? Corruption seems to have taken root in the community of Zimbabwe because of high levels of unemployment, poor salaries, and a high cost of living. Now, because some believe that politicians are the top most corrupt people in the country, it is why the Whistleblower Act is taking so long to come into motion. Is it true?
It's the the politicians and the politically connected, such as Kutakwashe Tagwirei and his clan, and all those who are linked to the ministers and those who get favorable tenders for government.
Mapurisa iwaya acho ari kutotidzinga apa vane uori husingaiti. Mapurisa iwaya vane uori hwakanyanyisa, chese vanotoda kutonyora. Izvozvi kundoona ndakadzikisa masiki kudai vanotoita mari. Hapana, handitozivi kuti shuwa toita sei. Hapasina department risina uori. Even masoja acho katasa kumabhodha uko ndo vanenge vakagarira kumabhodha uko. Vanhu vari kutopinda nemusango vachisiya vatonyora masoja. Uori kamo. Hapana department risina uori. Hapana, ukatarisa maministers eZANU-PF aripo ikezvinezvi. Maministries avo vari kungoita chete. If I tell you kuti inini ndiri a councillor, a provincial councillor, akawina, handiti 2018 ndichiwina. But hatisati tagadzwa, takutosvika pakupera kwetemu, devolution haisati yaimplementiwa. But ivo vakatiti, last time pakaimpichiwa Mugabe, vakati takuimpicha because hauna kuteedzera zviri muconstitution. Haana kunge aitisa devolution. But up to now, hatisati tagadzwa paudevolution wacho. Hatina kana mari we are supposed to get 75% of MPs, but we are not getting that money. Hapana chavari kutiitira. Saka tikutoshaya kuti what's the way forward? Toita sei? Nehurumende neuori yakadai so toita sei?
Especially like ma councillors. Kuma councillors unonzwa kunzi land kwakati kune scandal yeland yakati like kukuwadzana constituency yatinobva kune scandal yemari inoti mari iyoyo munhu iye hauna unzwa muso asungwa, munhu iye hauna unomona achifamba on daily basis. Saka isusu kana imichize ngemaburisa imimi kuti kwakaita shortfall yekukanzuru pamaland yakatengeswa inoti zvakati, why vanhu ivavo vachiri kuramba vachiexista mutemo usina kutora side rawo. Saka tiri kuti isusu corruption haifanirwa kuti yekutaurwa kuti Zimbabwe tiite zvinhu zviri real. If you are fighting corruption, we should bring to book for those councillors who are corrupt. Mutemo oisa decision ipapo.
The political elite, starting from Emerson Mnangagwa, his cartel, Tagwirei, and the likes, those are the most corrupt people. This is actually cascaded to government departments. If you go to police, you can see corruption. Every arms of the state are corrupt. Even the judiciary is corrupt. So as a new government, we need to do more to address such issues so that our economy can actually gather momentum.
Vanhu vari kunyanya kuita uori pari zvino. Iyo imba yaMnangagwa chaiyo vana vake pari zvino havana city yavasina chivakwa chavakaita. Tichitaurisa kwandinogara inini kumahosekwa vana vake vane mabuilding anokwanisa kuita 3 iko zvinezvi. Tichitarisa nyika yese tichienda kana kungave kana kuchitungwiza vane mabuildings akawanda, mamwe acho angori majiraho chete akangofenzwa chete kuratidza kuti this is a land reserved chete. But ndotoshamisika iyo government yacho vamwe vacho varimo vanoprotecta hapana huori but zvinhu zvicho zvichibenefitwa ne1 family. Mnangagwa nefamily yake ndo vanhu vari kubenefita, iye nemukadzi vake nevana vake vese. Hatina kwatiri kuenda nazvo kuti karamba takadaro pangave pese pabuda kana chicherwa chese chinongotorwa nevo vana vake. Tarisai makatarisa, tichitarisa kwana Chiyadzo, vana vake ndo vainveda. Tichienda kwamutoko kuri kubviswa vanhu, vana vake ndo vari kuinveda ivo nemachaina. Saka hapana nyika ino yamaoko maMnangagwa nemachaina ake.
Uori wakanyanya ndiri kuona kuti uri kuvatungamiriri. Utungamiriri wakasiyana siyana, especially ndogona kutaura neutungamiriri wekuwadi yangu. Wadi yedu togona kuti inini ndine pati yatinofamba nayo. Kana tiine pati yacho nogona kuti pane zvimwe zvavanogona kupiwa negovernment, but at the end vanongozoda kuti zviende mumba mavo. Saka isusu amwe toruza uori uhwo
iye zvine izvi zvasangana. Obviously politician handitika anenge ari corrupt pakuti arikuda kumuchengetedza zvaakaba, handiti muri kupona. Then pamwe pacho futi you would find kuti iwo mapoliticians ndiwo mabusinessmen acho, handiti muri kupona. Whereas kare taitoziva kuti mupolitician ada kutoita zvido zvedu isusu vashandi kana kuti zvido zvevanhu vasiri mabusinessmen, but iye zvino zvokatarisa mupolitician ndiye futi business person wacho. Saka hapana corruption patotoipedza, because on the other side arikuda kutoseva zvinhu zvake zvaakaita sei zvaakaba, either kupolitics kana kuti kubusiness. Saka haitombofe yakaita sei yakapera corruption.
As I'm speaking right now, they are free. But imimi muchiti imimi vane mascandals akati, they are free right now. Saka tiri kuendepi, tiri kubva kupi tichienda kupi. Senyika ngaive nyika ine direction. Saka vamwe vazhinji tiri kuti tikaita zvataita tongoziva kuti atibatwe, atidi ko ngavasungwezve nyika ifambe.
Kana ndakazvitarisa iro bato riri kutonga irori ndo bato chairo ranyanya kuputsa nyika ino, ndo rine vakuru vakadzika zvigaro vane zvimbi mucorruption, vasiri kuda kutibvisa mucorruption, ndoti vana vose vongorarama mazviri. Ngati mapato ose hurumende, ndingati kuhurumende kwacho, tikatarisa kupolisi, tikatarisa kuzvikoro, tikatarisa kana even kumasoja, tikatarisa kumajere kana kuzvipatara, tikatarisa kana kunotorwa zvitupa, kana tikatarisa panotamba vana kuti paungano panoitwa zvemari, corruption iripo, vakuru vanenge vachipuwa zvokudya ipapo.
Now Zimbabwe is ranked lowly on the corruption perception index. We are viewed as the most corrupt country. Without laws that protect people who can report corruption, without laws that allow the majority of Zimbabweans to take it into their own hands to end this corrupt society, and without addressing fundamental issues around protection of witnesses, around ensuring that the public has a perception about those in authority to want to fight corruption, corruption will stay long with us. It will actually get deep-rooted. Corruption needs to be dealt with. Corruption needs to be stopped. Because if it is not stopped, one day it will affect you. Just imagine you in hospital wanting to be put on a drip, but someone corruptly mismanaged the tender to buy medical supplies in the hospital and there is none. You might die because of one corrupt person. We need to put our hands together and fight corruption. Yeah, I will, before we go, Commissioner, I will allow you to look into the nation and give them your pledge as a commission and a pledge as a commissioner on the way forward for Zimbabwe in tackling corruption.
Yes, what I can say is that this is a collective responsibility. Zacc is very much committed to the execution of its constitutional mandate, but it's a collaborative effort. We have no sacred cows. We want to work together with as many stakeholders as possible, including the media, to spread anti-corruption awareness. That's critical, anti-corruption awareness. We need anti-corruption champions at various levels of society and in various sectors. So we need those anti-corruption champions. When we talk about political commitment, we also need political commitment at even lower levels of political decision making. Your councillors, your MPs, party structures, different political party structures. We need anti-corruption champions there. We need people to speak the language of anti-corruption. Then we need people to sign, public officials to sign integrity pledges. We have developed integrity pledges for all public officials. We need public officials to sign those integrity pledges, but we need citizens and the media to hold them accountable for the pledges that they would have signed. That is critical, because people can just go and sign, to go through the motions of signing, but you then need media to hold them accountable, to say, Commissioner Makamure, you signed an integrity pledge, but your conduct is corrupt.
It's not consistent.
Yeah, so we
with
need
the
to
pledge.
roll out integrity pledges together with various stakeholders, so that everyone, we build an environment where accountability and transparency is diligently exercised, the way it becomes a culture of openness, accountability, transparency. That's how you begin to reduce corruption. At all facets, we don't want this to become a culture where people think being corrupt is the way to go, right? Because it's a way of life now. I have to pay a bribe to get something. We want people to begin to refuse to pay a bribe. People must not come to Zacc and complain that I paid a bribe. Right? You must refuse, then there will be no bribes paid. Because, by the way, if you pay a bribe, you have committed an offense. So, yeah, so that's what we need. We need people to be proactive. People must not just say, Zacc, do something when someone is paying a bribe. So we're very committed, and we need more legal reforms, we need more policy reforms, we need more capacity building in institutions, and I think that's an ongoing process.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, for this amazing opportunity that you've given us here. You have headed Zimbabwe. Corruption can only be fought if the value chain is strengthened, the entire value chain. And the value chain starts from you as an individual, as a Zimbabwean, saying to yourself no to corruption and being able to help even Zacc investigators come up with evidence, assist them where they need help, because they are not prophets. They cannot just wake up and smell corruption and just be able to find it without getting assistance from those of you who've got documentation, who've got evidence and the access in the areas and spheres of life that you are in. Corruption is a cancer. Corruption will affect you. It will affect you when you go to hospital to seek medical treatment. It can affect you as you want a passport, an ID card. Because if someone somewhere steals something, it will affect the value chain of you getting service. And Zacc is there to defend the future of Zimbabweans, to allow you to enjoy the benefits of being a Zimbabwean and access all its goodness by stopping corruption. Now, this was the Free Talk with me, your host, as usual, Dara Blessed Mhlanga, here at Zacc, talking about how to stop corruption, how to end corruption, and how to make Zimbabwe a better place. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you very much.
Until next time,
sure.
This is Heart and Soul TV and Radio.